Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Anime Lounge Podcast. I'm your host, Matt, alongside with my other host, Lance. As always, we start off with an adult beverage of choice, and we loved the Macalin so much that we're drinking it again this time. It was so good. I was kind of just dreaming about it the other day. I'm like, oh, I want some more.
So happy to drink this again. I've been saving it specifically for podcasting, so did not want to touch it too much. And then, of course, we're drinking a Spotted Cow on the side, too.
Yep. Yeah, I can never go wrong with a good old Wisconsin staple.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I'll be completely honest, I haven't had any, because it's a Wisconsin ale, I think is what they call it. So it's like a milky ale.
Right.
And there is another drink that I had that was a milky ale, and I really enjoyed it. So apparently I just kind of like that type of ale.
Yeah, it goes down real easy, so Can't go wrong there.
No, definitely not. So Lance, you want to kind of just let everybody know what we're going to be talking about today?
Right. So today we are going to be covering the world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat.
Mouthful.
Yeah, gotta be one of those typical long name ones. Alright, so in an isekai world, our main character isn't the hero, but rather the hero killer. Lug Tuatha is reincarnated into another world of swords and sorcery with the sole purpose of killing the hero before they can take over the world. With his top-notch assassin skills in his previous life, he now adds magic to his arsenal as he prepares to kill the Demon Lord Slayer. And that's all I wrote. Short and sweet.
Yeah, no, I liked it. That's a really good one. I don't know what more you could really say on that one without, trying to write a novel about the show.
Right. Rest would just be fluff and whatever.
Yeah, no, it's, besides the name, that it really is a mouthful of the name.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, Lance, you want to give us that Lance's lesson?
Today's Lance's lessons is going to be the Japanese name for aeroplane, and that is Hikoki. Hikoki is spelled Hikoki. And Hikoki is relevant to today's episode because in the very first episode of the show, our main character dies in an airplane, basically. Gets blown up, and that's his, what do you say, some perfect coffin for his death, or he didn't say perfect, but it was something along those lines.
A fitting coffin, maybe?
That sounds right.
I think. I don't remember what he actually said. Which, airplane, I like that one because that will kind of tie into the start of Manga Mentions.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so with that being said, let's just jump into some Matt's Manga Mentions.
Yeah, let's get into this. So, as I was talking about with Lance's lessons, the aeroplane is where the manga starts.
Okay.
The airplane is going down, and that's the beginning of essentially the manga. And I'm like, did I miss something? What is going on here?
Oh,
nope.
Much like Miroko-chan, the manga is starting at the end of the first episode.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just like, no, this can't be right. I had to have missed something. Nope, chapter 1, page 1. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I didn't miss anything. But I know this is based off a light novel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how, when it comes to stuff like this, when there's differences like that, it's like, okay, maybe the light novel starts off completely different, and they're just like, yeah, this is a good starting point. It's okay.
Right.
I really enjoyed the manga, and I would say the manga did a fairly good job staying concurrent with the anime. It's really hard when you've got a light novel as your main source, and then the anime, because you're like, well, did the anime pull from the light novel and then the manga just skipped it? It's really hard to draw conclusions, so that's why I'm like, I'm not going to nitpick this stuff.
That's fair. But yeah, our job here is to talk about the anime and the manga, so
yeah,
we got your source, and that's all we can go off of.
Yeah, I do definitely agree with that one. So then the other thing is you never see his partner, so the adult Lug before he dies as the world's finest assassin. So you don't she doesn't exist at all.
No. So that woman being on the plane that he was supposedly supposed to kind of make sure she's protected in a way to get him on that plane in the first place.
Yep.
He's just on the plane.
He's just on the plane.
Okay.
So like I said, the manga starts with the plane going down, and then he's running to the cockpit, and then he looks over, and then there's the fighter jets getting ready to kill him. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's one way to start.
Yeah, I mean, jumping right into the action.
Seriously. So his mother, in the beginning, you see how she's objecting basically Lug to be a true Tuatha, Like, that doesn't happen in the manga. Like, she's just all for it.
Okay, so like when the father was saying he's going to be an assassin,
Yep.
like point blank,
Yep.
and then mom was like, oh, does he have to be? Because our last child died because of it, so he doesn't have to be. And
Yep.
so she's just fully on board.
Yeah, it's one of those things, especially in, like, if you were to put yourself in, like, the noble times where it's like, this is the family, this is what the family does. Like, that's basically the stance she's taking. It's just like, this is just how it is.
Right.
So you get to see Lug at age 5. He talks about his family's history and what he's meant to do within the family. And then his father actually makes him kill people at 5.
Wow, that early?
Yeah.
I don't quite remember exactly.
So he talks about at 11, this is the first time he's had to kill somebody. So that crazy psycho chick that, like, he chops off her hand and then she, like, loses her mind.
Yeah.
That's the first person that he says he has to kill in the anime.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. So he did it at age 5.
Yeah.
And then manga, okay.
No hesitation either. Just straight killer. So yeah, I guess if you train him young, it's not an issue.
That's just the new norm.
At least he is an assassin, so it's okay.
Yeah, I was already pre-registered in his mind that killing was just natural to him.
Yep. So the way he meets Dia is different as well. So remember when he's out training at 11 to kill that rabbit? So it's at that time period. So they meet, he goes and he kills the rabbit, and then he runs into her and her bodyguard while training to kill the rabbit.
Okay, that's different. Because, yeah, in the anime, he went to go kill the rabbit, and then they had lunch.
Yeah, then they had lunch, and then, like, the next day, his mother made him dress up in the women's clothing and show up. No, she was there when he killed the rabbit, so he wasn't dressed up as a woman.
Okay. So, in our eyes, that was creative liberty being thrown in there.
Yeah, we can go with that. When Lug met Talt, he hadn't had the eye surgery yet, so he didn't know that she had magical powers at that point.
Oh, so that was earlier than the anime was then.
Yep.
Okay, so in the manga's perspective, just so happened to have worked out.
Yeah, he was training like normal, but then ran into her, and kind of the same scenario happened. He just didn't know that she had magical powers.
Okay.
And he figured it out because he had the foul stone, and basically it started to react to Talt, and that's how he knew that she had magic.
Did they call her Talt in the manga?
Talt?
Yeah.
I think so.
Because the anime was Tart.
Oh, you know what? It might be Tart, and I just wrote it wrong.
Okay.
I apologize. So yes, Tart. And he also doesn't test her with food. He just kind of gave her some of his food that he had and told her to not, like, eat it fast.
Right.
Because she would get sick. So he's just more forthcoming with why she shouldn't eat the food.
Oh, they explained that very well in the anime, too.
So he gave it to her, and it was a test in his mind to be like, okay, if she could follow these rules, then she'll be good to go. But in the manga, he handed it to her and was like, don't eat it quickly because you're gonna get sick. While in the anime, he basically tells her, like, don't eat it quickly, and then kind of goes into his monologue for a little bit, and then it's like, oh yeah, she can listen and follow instructions. So that's why I basically want her to be my servant.
But they also explained in the anime.
Okay.
After he gave her the second bowl, he explained, the reason I wanted you to eat slowly is because you're cold and starving, and if you ingest it slowly, then your body's not going to reject it.
Yep. So that he does that on like when he initially gives her the food.
Okay.
So just less time consuming.
Right.
So then you get a short chapter monologue of Dia talking about how Lug helped her get her love for magic back.
Okay.
When I say short, I think it was like 14 pages. So there were 2 chapters that we got that were kind of like what would appear to be extra, like an extra chapter in a light novel, where it's like, yeah, that could be something, but really it's just, I would have put this in to kind of give extra information, and you'll understand why I bring that up later.
Okay.
So the first time you see Tart wake up Lug was 2 years after they had met. So I missed that. So I was like, I'm just going to write it down because I don't know. I didn't remember if they actually talked about how long it had been.
Yeah, it was right away. The very next scene was a 2-year skip. And then Tart's like, if you don't wake up, I'm going to have to do something mischievous.
Yep.
And then he goes into a quick explanation like, oh, you've really grown in the last 2 years. And
yeah, okay, yeah.
now she has big boobs and she knows how to kill. Like, she's just very agile, and she's definitely become more of a reliable person.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that one. So then it was 2 years after he had met Tart when he got the procedure for his magic eyes.
Okay.
So she was around when that happened.
Interesting.
And she was actually the first person he saw after the eye surgery. So immediately after basically the procedure was over and he was healed, that's when he went into the final fight with his father.
Oh, so it was that quick too?
Yeah, like it was immediate, no getting to recover and getting used to it. It was literally like bandages off. Oh, look, there's Tart. And now you're going to have your final test kind of thing. I was like, oh shit, okay.
Wow, that's really quick.
And then the cool thing was that now Lug kind of got to get used to the magic eyes in a fight instead of kind of supplementing stuff during the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy the fight in the manga better than the fight in the anime between him and his father.
Oh yeah?
It was a lot longer, and because Lug was getting used to his eyes, he was trying to be able to adapt using his eyes during the fight.
Okay, yeah. I can see the challenge there.
So it was longer, and then they don't really go into it super well from what I remember in the anime on basically how Lug wins. But in the manga, he basically sacrifices his shoulder to be able to get his father in close enough to be able to get the knife to his throat.
That might have been actually what happened. I know it was kind of quick in the anime.
It was really hard to know exactly what happened. So in the manga, he basically allowed his father to get in close enough, shifts, gets stabbed in the shoulder, and that's how he can get the knife to his father's throat.
Right. Okay, yeah. Because he did make, at least in the anime, he said, I won on like a suicidal gamble, is what he said. So that makes more sense. If he took a hit in order to get the winning blow, then yeah, that makes way more sense.
I wish they would have gone into, I wish they would have seen, like, you get blood splatter or something, because you'd be like, oh shit, okay, yeah, no, this was like really close. Something bad could have happened. Something.
Right, yeah. I don't remember, nothing like that registered with me right now for a memory.
Yep. Something crazy that you find out is Lug actually has a third identity that they don't talk about in the anime.
Interesting, okay.
So just to kind of remind anybody, so there is Illig, who is the basically merchant, and then obviously Lug, and now there is a third basically individual that exists who would be Lug.
Okay, and does he act on this, or is this just information that we know?
It's information that we know.
Okay.
His father kind of talks about it being like, there's a backup plan, and then there's also this backup plan in case we need it.
Interesting. Do we get a name and a job, or
nope?
Just that there's a backup plan?
Yep, there's...
Okay.
It basically, the panel is like Illig, because they're talking about becoming the merchant.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see a third, basically figureless individual with no name. And then you get Lug Tuatha as well. That's the whole panel. And you're like, okay, then this is interesting.
Very interesting. I can see, if that's the case, then I can see that 100% coming out of like a season 2 then.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Or maybe even season 3, because it's like, okay, now he's an adult and he needs this third individual to be able to do something to get into a certain section that Illig can't get him into.
Right. And that's something that we can talk about too, because remember, we have a time frame.
Yep. So then they had a chapter where Tart and Dia talk about Luke. Again, it's like an extra chapter kind of thing. Basically, Dia gives Tart permission to pursue Lug, and she says, I'm a noble after all. That goes into what Maha had talked about, where essentially Lug is allowed to have a mistress.
Yeah, a mistress or two.
Yep.
Or multiple or whatever. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
I did think that was funny. Unfortunately, you don't see that interaction in the manga.
Right.
So I was kind of disappointed, because I actually really enjoyed that whole scene. Like, I enjoyed that conversation.
That whole carriage scene?
Yeah,
that's not in the manga?
None of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was, like, honestly, that was probably one of my favorite non-fight scenes, was that whole conversation, because it was very important information, and it was a good back and forth between Maha and Luke.
Yeah, I agree.
But the manga makes mentioned later that Dia and Tart have never communicated with each other. So I'm like, okay, this is a weird chapter, essentially.
Okay, so if that's the case and they're communicating that Tart should go after Lug, then how was that communicated?
It wasn't. That's what makes no sense. But it's like I said, it's like an extra chapter. So maybe in the manga they just pushed it sooner than when it actually happened in the light novel.
Okay.
And they're just kind of giving you essentially the conversation between Maha and Lug without giving you that dialogue.
Okay. Interesting.
Lug was brought to the Baller family under the guide that the oldest son had gotten sick, and Illig is essentially the backup plan for the head of the family. And Lug also spent 6 months just kind of learning the business before anything happened.
Okay, so he just laid low for a very long time.
Yeah, essentially doing like all the grunt work, learning ins and outs of each of the businesses before anything happened. So it makes Illig coming up essentially getting quote unquote found, you could say, because the oldest son is sick. That makes sense because, you need a new heir to the family. So now I've got this illegitimate son that I know about, and this is why he's around. It makes complete sense when you're talking about nobility and stuff like that, because you're like, well, I need to have a son to be able to pass along the lineage.
Right.
So it's Bress is the name of the oldest son, and he was the one that was sick.
Okay. The one who got surgery?
Yes. And basically, you learn that he had cancer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He is recovering, but he had cancer at least in the manga, he had cancer.
Okay, yeah, I don't think they explained anything in the anime. They just said, oh, I performed surgery, don't tell your mom.
Yep. You see Bress taking an interest in Illig and wants to learn the same way that Illig is teaching Tart and Maha.
Okay.
You see just, them studying, learning ins and outs of arithmetic and business and all this other stuff. So just kind of interesting. It's happening as Lug is under the guise of Illig.
Okay. Well, that's just a little bit more character development for someone else who was just had a quick scene in the anime.
Yeah, and he really doesn't play too much of a part in the manga either. But it's just Lug makes mention that, he's going to keep an eye on him because he's showing a very strong interest in Illig. So he basically wants to manipulate Bress.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's Bres. If somebody wants to pronounce it another way, because we never got a pronunciation in the anime. I'm just kind of taking a stab in the dark on that one.
Sure.
There is no chapter with Lug and Dia spending the day together.
Like ever?
Yeah, so that entire episode where he goes and they go essentially through the town prior to
a date day.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the manga.
Wow, none of that.
Nothing.
Okay, so they got rid of that awkward bath scene and no shooting of the bear.
Yep.
No going out to lunch.
Yep.
Getting lasagna. No not Illig, sorry. This Lug at this point.
Yep.
No Lug pointing out that the guards have like combat experience.
Yep.
Okay, all of that was skipped.
The entire thing.
Interesting.
You do see the Ballard head go to Luke's father and offer 20 years worth of taxes, Tuathede's taxes, to essentially buy Luke to be Illig.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So is that why the father originally came to Luke's father, the Tuathede, to be like, hey, he has a gift. If he wants, he can stay here and we'll just...
Yeah, so that happened prior to that conversation with his father and Luke.
Okay.
Where he was like, you don't have to do this. You have this option. And in the anime, I would say the anime and the manga, it's a sincere thing from a father to a son being like, yes, this is your actual life and this is what you could be doing, but you don't have to. You have another option if you want to take it.
Right.
And that's kind of how I took it in the manga as well, even with this information, because the father basically was like, well, I'm not going to tell you yes, this is going to be Luke's choice on if he wants to be Illig or if he wants to be Lug.
Sure.
And the last thing that I have is it took Lug 6 hours to run to Dia.
Okay, yeah, they didn't give us any kind of time frame other than a distance of like 300 kilometers or whatever. But yeah, we didn't get a time frame.
So he's essentially running 50 kilometers an hour.
I think they might have said 40.
Well, if it's 300 kilometers and it took him 6 hours, that would be 50 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm pretty sure I specifically remember him saying 40 at one point. But yeah, if that math has to work out, then he has to be running an average of 50 then.
Well, I do remember them talking about at 40 miles an hour, like the wind currents start screwing everything up.
That could have been it.
I think that's what that was.
Maybe, yeah.
And it's easy to assume that's essentially what he's running at because, well, they're having to worry about wind currents.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever make any kind of mention on how fast he made it there any other time he went to go visit? Because to us, it was just, boom, he was there.
A stroll in the park, kind of like a hop and a skip, and I'm here. Yeah, no.
Right.
No, they don't, which is very weird that they make this huge ordeal about him having to run from the Tuatha to Dia's land, but then, you know, he'd go there every month, and it's like...
For years.
Yeah, for years, and now it's an issue.
Right. So that makes me wonder if he's just been burning through all of his mana to get there when he got there, because in this last situation, it mattered that he needed to reserve all of his mana because he needed to attack.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point. Then that's probably exactly what it was, where he could just fly there and it didn't matter if he had like 5 MP left over because he would recover
right
by the time he had to leave. So then he would just drain all his MP again.
Right.
So that's probably what he was doing. Like, that would make the most sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I have as far as the manga mentions.
Okay.
It's not a whole lot of changes. The fight at the end is slightly different. You see Lug kind of, he had to take out some of Dia's guards because they couldn't know that Luke was there, and he ran into them because he didn't have that ability where he could like sonar where everybody was, like that. He didn't have that ability. He doesn't have that ability in the manga. They make mention that he has been there so much that he knows the ins and outs of the castle, and that makes complete sense.
Right.
And then how he shows up to Maha is he's floating outside the window, and that's how he gets in. Sorry.
But yeah, he was like basically floating on his own little mini tornado.
Yep.
So that he'd be levitated up there, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just slightly different, not a huge, it's kind of whatever.
Right.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
It's really enjoyed the manga. It's probably one of the better manga adaptations on a light novel that I've read in a while.
Yeah.
Just because, like, there wasn't a whole lot of differences, to be completely honest.
Right, yeah. I know, like, what was it when we did Sword Art? They skipped a shit ton of information in the manga.
Yep.
So, yeah, all you listeners, if you just so happen to have read this light novel, please leave us a comment and let us know how the manga did, and let us know any additional information, because that would be awesome to learn.
Yeah, kind of like as I've previously mentioned, where I'm reading or listening to Jobless Reincarnation light novel. Like I said, I text you basically every time I'm listening to it. It's like, oh yeah, here's this added information that we didn't get.
Right. Yeah, lots of information, especially because you were saying one volume could take you 8 hours of just listening time. So that's a lot of information.
Yeah, I am very interested to know how many light novels season 1 covered. Let's see.
Quick Google search.
From what I am reading, it looks to be about 6 volumes. Oh no, it has around 6 volumes, excuse me. The anime adaptation only covered the first volume.
Wow, that's a lot of information that's still yet to come then.
Yeah, right?
That's so crazy, because I'm sure a lot of people could probably assume that season 2 could potentially be the whole end of this whole story. You know, we've only got like, what, is he like 15-ish at the end of season 1? So he's got a max of like 3 more years before shit starts going wrong.
I think he's 14.
14?
Yeah, because Dia is 15.
And she's 3 years older than he is, though.
Or 6, 7? I guess she's 17 at the time then.
Okay.
I know he makes mention that he's 14 because when he comes back, from as being Illig is right after his 14th birthday, because he does it for 2 years, and I think he had just turned 12.
Yeah, my notes say 2 years has passed. He should be 12. That's in episode 4, and yeah, that's before he goes to live as a merchant. So 2 years on top of that, with the whole time he's been learning how to be a merchant. Yep. Yeah, that would put him at 14.
Yeah, so he's 14. Dia's obviously 17. I think Tart is the same age as Lug.
Yeah, I would say I don't think we got a specific age, but I would say same or maybe even a tad younger.
Yeah, she might have been, I guess, what they met when they were, Was he 5?
I don't know. I'd almost say
Or I think he was 7, because we kind of get like 5, 7, 11, or 5, 7, 12, or 11, 12, and then 14.
According to my notes, Tart is introduced in episode 4, and then I put one of my notes is 2 years has passed. He should be 12. So if that's the case, it sounds. You know what? That's not too fair too, because more time skips could have happened. So.
Yeah.
At the latest, he could have been 10, but there's no way. He had to have been.
Because I'm trying to think.
Around
he
there.
got his eyes. Did it say when? I know there was an age, but.
Could have been. I didn't pay that close attention. Episode 2, he got the mystic eyes.
I think he was 7. No, he had to have been like a 9. I don't know. We're going in circles on that one.
Yeah, that's all right.
So we know he's 14. We know Dia's 17. I would assume that Tart is either 13, 14, or 15, somewhere in that area. I know they're around the same age.
Right.
I want to say she's a year younger, but I couldn't tell you for sure. And let's see, Maha, I don't think they ever actually...
All I know for sure was in the gross episode of all the sex trafficking,
yes,
the master guy said that she's about to turn 12 or she is 12. And
okay.
That's all we can say about that. So
I think she's older than Lug as well, because that was 6 months, basically right after he started working his own stuff as Illig.
Right.
So he would have been 12.
Yeah, he was 12 when he started Illig, and then she was almost 12 at that slight backstory. Yeah.
So those two are probably the same age as well.
Yeah.
She might be like months older, but they're essentially the same age.
Right.
So we'll go 14 at this period of time. I'm not really finding anything as far as her age is concerned. But like I said, I'm pretty sure she's the same age as Luke. She's a great character, and I can't wait to talk about her.
I mean, there's another kid that we can talk about. The one in episode 5 when they finished the battle with the father and the son, and they're like congratulating Luke for graduating, basically, and then that one kid throws a glass at him. All I got out of that one, I did actually write it down. It said I wrote down some kid 4 years older than him tries to fight him, and he loses, and told that he should be Luke's knight. So he's got some kind of future molded out for him.
Is it Rona?
That sounds a little familiar.
Yes, it's Rona.
Yeah,
he is going to be the knight to Athade, as they talk about. He is obviously older, as you said, 4 years older?
Mm-hmm.
And Lug did that when he was 11, so he'd be 15, so he's...
Well, just 4 years on top of 14 would put him at 18 at this moment.
Yeah, so he's probably going through the knight training now.
Yeah, but he can be interesting. I wonder if... Well, I guess all I was really going to say was Luke gave him a sword like that he made himself. So I was always wondering, like, how strong is that sword going to be compared to anything else? Of course, it's supposed to be lighter, stronger, like that knife that I would assume. And I don't know, well, just staying on the topic of Luke just making shit.
Yep.
I think one of my favorite moments in this entire series was when Luke was fighting those wolves to save Tart as a child.
Okay.
And then he like gave himself like these metal gauntlets on his wrists and his hands or whatever.
Yep.
It was just a very cool look. And then he had the blades in like a ninja style. So I thought that it just looked cool to me. So I like that scene a lot because it played with my imagination very well.
Very anime-esque in
Yeah.
that one. I really enjoyed that scene, and I like how creative he is throughout this entire series. Because one thing that I had an issue with, it's kind of nitpicking, like the beginning of the season/series makes absolutely no sense.
Like the very first opening scene?
Yeah, where it's them shooting guns to kill these nobles, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah, this has nothing to do with assassination.
Like, I am so confused.
When I think of an assassination, I think of like sly and sneaky and just, words that are like quiet. I don't know.
Nothing.
Weird. Just
nothing to do with.
In and out, and no one knows you were even there.
Yep. Well, that one's okay because they're essentially killing everybody there.
Right.
So it's okay. But it was just so weird. And it made who are these characters and what is going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very interesting scene because They threw it in there just so that you can keep the watcher's attention at a high for so early. But then as you come to learn, like, that scene comes post season 1 because Dia is part of that and she's working with them, and Dia doesn't get fully introduced into the whole game until
after the end of the season.
Literally the last scene when she's like adopted into the family.
Yep. Do you think they're getting adopted or are they getting married?
I think eventually they'll get married. But the final scene was the adoption reports and her being the younger sister, even though she's older.
Yeah. And, that doesn't happen in the manga either.
It doesn't?
No.
Like the adoption thing doesn't?
Yeah, that part doesn't happen in the manga.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. That is interesting. But it really makes no sense. Like, why they failed the assassination. So why do you need to put her in hiding? And
why do you have to put her in hiding? But I would say even more, why would you go through the process of like making anything proper?
Yep. Yeah, no, that part was weird. Maybe they'll gloss over it or explain it in season 2.
Maybe.
Because season 2 is announced. I don't know if we've talked about that one. But season 2 announced. No idea about any details. But season 2 is a thing. Right. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, we did a little bit of Google searching before we started. Only thing we can find is that it's straight up announced. We don't have a year. We don't have a season. A season as in like fall, winter, spring, whatever. So we have no idea when it's officially going to be, but it's coming.
Yep. So maybe we'll get some explanations on that one because it really makes no sense. Like, she doesn't need to be saved in that manner. The assassination failed, so everybody knows she's alive. And the pseudo-hero, but we can talk about him later, is supposedly dead and offered basically immunity if he loses. So she's good to go. Like, there's no issues.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, because he lost the duels, and we're talking about Satana Magnus, the guy with the spear.
Yes.
The final scene.
Is it a lance?
It was I'm pretty sure it was a spear.
It looked like one of the things you see at old time festivals where it's the knights and they're jousting, the jousting thing. I think they called it a spear, but
yeah, it was more than a spear. It was definitely a lance shaped because it was very long bladed. And it spiked open.
It had like the pseudo hilt on the back end. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That's also nitpicking. So
yeah, I guess now that we're talking about it, it's definitely a lance versus a spear.
So not Lug, won. So Dia's safe. The village is essentially free and clear. Like there were no knights that were there. Granted, there's also nobody around to be like, yep, that happened. But if they go there and like, have you seen your hero lately? He's dead. Mm-hmm. He lost. Like, that would really be all it took. So it'd be interesting to find out what happens later on.
Right. Do you think Magnus is officially dead?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he was the hero.
Oh, he was definitely not the hero. They made that clear.
So I think he is dead, and only because he's not the hero.
Right.
So, because if he was the hero, I feel like he would have survived. But because he's not the hero, he is absolutely just obliterated.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was just some cool, tough guy that showed up out of nowhere.
Yep.
And they didn't really, like, try to make him sound super important. Like, that whole, like, 3-minute countdown thing that Luke was doing in his head.
Yep.
It was all just for show. And they didn't, like, make him seem important. He was just some loudmouth ready to fight.
He was a berserker.
Yeah.
Very true to his special skill, his S-rank skill.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that weapon, they made mention of these kinds of weapons a couple times.
Yep.
Especially when, I might be thinking of a different scene. But they did make, what I was going to was, Maha made mention that she's been tracking these special weapons.
Yep.
So I'm kind of surprised they didn't make mention that they secured this weapon after his defeat.
Yeah, I think they talked about, like, it disappeared.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
So I think they do make mention of it. But I'm very curious about these weapons.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of them for sure. I'd like to know a limit. Not a limit, but like, how many there are.
It's like, is there 5 of them? Is there 2 of them? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, what is the other ones? I want to know. Is that how Luke kills the hero? Attempts to kill a hero?
Right.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because this weapon was very powerful.
Yep.
And Luke used his number 1 skill on Magnus. So we know that if he's going to be killing the hero, he needs an even stronger, more brilliant plan.
Yeah, because the hero is not going to be dumb enough to fall for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just going to be way too strong to be like, oh yeah, I'll sit here for essentially 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And staying on these weapons, the very first thing I thought of was Shield Hero. when they were trying to say that they're special weapons, and
Yep.
this one was like had all these special abilities. So yeah, he's the Lamb's hero.
Speaking of these weapons, do you think the goddess was the one that created them?
Ooh, interesting. I want to say no. I think she's just like this medium kind of person that's just sending people to this world.
Okay. Then there has to be another god that has made these weapons.
Sure. Yeah, I would go as far as saying there should be multiple gods.
I can see that. I'll be curious to know if we run into them somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the goddess has a conversation with him, or maybe Lug somehow gets spoken to by one of these gods.
Sure.
It'll be very interesting. There's a lot of paths that could take.
Oh yeah, and what's blowing my mind right now is we're this far and we're only 1 out of 6 books.
Yep.
There's so much more information.
Yeah,
so it makes me think that it can't just be as simple as preparing for the next 2 years to go fight and kill this guy. I think there's got to be a lot more.
Well, we have 4 years because it's when Luke turns 18 that the
world goes to shit.
Well, no, that's when the Demon King is killed, and then I think it's 2 years.
Close. He kills the Demon Lord at when Luke is going to be 16,
okay.
And he has 2 years on top of that to stop the hero before he destroys the world, basically.
Okay, that does make sense then. So yeah, he has essentially 4 years remaining. So then there's no way that the next 5 books only cover 4 years.
Right.
That would be a shit ton of stuff that happens.
Right. So it makes me wonder, he's definitely going to have to run into this hero real soon.
Yep. What if he ran into the hero and was able to convince him to not be a piece of shit?
That's what I would like to say. I'll spend the next while speculating on what we can expect out of the next season or two, because there is so much that could happen.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely the ending of the series was what I was saying. But yes, let's talk about season 2 and beyond.
Okay, so I don't think it's going to be as simple as Luke's going to be in the background assassinating, and all of a sudden he's going to get news that the Demon Lord has been killed. I think Luke is going to be somehow wrapped into the situation too, and I think he's going to partake in some way. I don't think he's going to do the killing itself, although it would be kind of funny if he was the one that landed the finishing blow on the Demon Lord. But
so if Luke did it, that would change everything, because now it's no longer the hero that could use his fame in the killing of the Demon King as his reason for tyranny.
That'd be a very interesting twist.
That would be very interesting.
Which could be a reason why there's so much more information to come.
Yeah, because Luke could be essentially in the background making sure that the hero doesn't turn into a villain.
Right.
Interesting.
That could be a twist.
Yeah, but we also have to somehow tie in the very first 15 minutes of episode 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wonder if they're going to try to play into that. Like, maybe Maha has a strong desire to go after, like, these sex traffickers, and she just wants to stop all that.
Perfectly understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Don't blame her. That would be interesting. We already know that Dia can use guns.
Yep, and we should explain that she has the ability to use 2 powers, or 2 attributes, which are fire and earth, which is why she can use earth to create the gun and use fire to create the explosion of the bullet.
Mm-hmm. And because she has earth, she can make metals.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. It's throwing me off so hard, because it makes absolutely no sense with the rest of what happened in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really doesn't make any sense. I have no idea. And then of course it's not in the manga, so they can't like backfill the explanation either.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna, eat their foot on this one, just kind of do some stupid scene and make it all like not matter anyway.
I would say, they don't look much older, but that's not really saying anything, because Dia doesn't really age. So I don't know. It's very interesting. And then what they could do is, like, in season 2, Maha could be doing some like background investigation, finds this slave trade, and then basically they backfill the information and replay that series of scenes in season 2.
Yeah, I can see that.
That would make sense. That could kind of help fill in the blank, essentially.
Yeah, and at least tie the 2 anime seasons together.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very curious what will happen.
You know another thing I want to see? We got these hundreds of other people that have been reincarnated.
Yes.
I want to see Luke run into someone and just have some kind of weird conversation, and have Luke understand that he's not the only one I don't know if he's been told these, because when the goddess got him,
Yeah.
she just offered the ability. Like, she didn't say, like, I'm trying to create as many opportunities as I can. So I would like to see him run into someone else.
Yeah, she doesn't talk about him doing it again. Yeah, that'll be very interesting if they run into him. I'm also curious how often it happens, because he's what, 120 something? Is that what it is?
Oh, I don't remember, because she was definitely going through multiple different hundreds. Like, I didn't write down everybody's number, but like there was like a 600 something.
So I wonder what what his number is. And then I'm also curious, like, does she do it like every day? Does she do it like every couple months?
Mm-hmm.
We know it's been years, because it was like, oh, it's been 20 some years. Let's see how this guy's doing. Or this been 40 years. Let's see how this guy's doing. And it's like, oh, okay. So it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm. And if they all have the same exact goal, it made me wonder, how often is she doing this? It's basically got to be almost daily on some degree.
Maybe monthly?
Because, we got big jumps in years. But like, at the same time, like, you're not going to want some 40-year-old to go slay some hero.
That's debatable.
Depending on the skills that could be there. So that's what also was making me think, like, do you think this is also like a multiverse kind of deal? Because if there's hundreds of other reincarnated people all doing the same job, not necessarily everybody's like doing it the way they're supposed to be doing it. Lots of them fail. We're going to have to assume all of them fail. But yes. I would like to assume we're going to run into a couple that are, doing decent. So that's why I want to see Luke running into someone.
Decent and or at least like not fucking up.
Right.
You could say.
Like not being the biggest loser.
Yeah.
And there's also hundreds of people that have been chosen. She's got to be duplicating on skills, because I don't know how many different jobs there can be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That is very interesting. We need a lot more information about her.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I found interesting about the goddess was when she was first doing her old deal with giving him all the information in the beginning of the season, and she said, and I just so happened to have saved your soul, and I just so happened to have been able to send you to this place, and I just so happened to blah blah blah. She said that like 5 times. It's making me wonder if she's definitely got more information to give.
Yep. So something very interesting that happens in the light novel that I'm just remembering is you see a moment in which the goddess is talking about assisting Lug.
Okay.
So the statement is, the current success rate with the assistance I previously gave Lug to Athade is 8%. Resources allocated to Lug for support are confirmed have been exhausted. Requesting additional resources rejected. And then it says, abandon this case, activate option B, or plan B, excuse me.
Interesting.
So it's like, what is she doing? What's going on?
Okay. Well, now this is also kind of, I feel like this is favoring like the multiverse kind of thing right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I need to keep reading.
All right, well, you keep reading, and let's just take a quick break.
Hey, Toasties. I'm Missy, here with my bestie Johnsy.
Hey, y'all.
Do you like mind-blowing crime cases, spooky tales, and debating theories?
Well, what a coinky-dink. So do we. Grab your beverage and be a part of our Toasted Shenanigans on your favorite podcast app.
You can even send us a story or drink suggestion. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or at toastedshenanigans.com.
Hey, this is Tyler, one of the hosts of RangerCast. On our show, we talk about Power Rangers and other multi-unit spandex heroes. We've got news, reviews, interviews. We talk about the comics, the games, the toys, and all things more phenomenal. Find us at Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or check us out at rangercast.net. May the power protect you.
And now that we're back from our break, through the power of time and the internet, I didn't really find anything out about what the goddess has planned, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just something that we're going to have to find out when it happens.
Yeah, hopefully season 2 I'll find something out. Because we know we get season 2 at least.
Right. At the very least, yeah, because there's so much more information.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of a lot of things we haven't talked about, well, we haven't talked about favorite characters.
Right, that's just something we usually do right away.
And we're an hour in. We haven't talked about, or almost an hour in, and we haven't talked about favorite characters. Do you have one?
Yeah, this is kind of strange. Like, the easy one's obviously, like, Lug.
Mm-hmm.
He's super smart. He's got all these abilities.
Yep.
He's got these skills that are very interesting, and we don't even know, like, one of them yet.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's kind of going to be the quick one to say so.
Okay.
But on the other hand, I kind of want to just go with Goddess because
Okay.
I'm interested in her.
Okay.
I want to know more about her and why she even knows about this future. If she knows about this future, then why wasn't she able to do anything about it to begin with? We know that the hero was important in the first place to kill the Demon Lord, and that needed to happen, but doing so created yet another problem. So it just had to go that way anyway. So I'm interested in her knowledge, I guess.
Okay. That does make sense. For me, I would probably say my favorite character, I'm probably, as far as most interested in, Maha is probably my favorite character.
Yeah, she's interesting.
I think her knowledge, her looking out for her friends / family, because all those girls she considers her family, the trauma that she went through and is still able to do all this stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, how that conversation in the carriage is probably one of my favorite scenes that's not like a fight scene. So with that, like, just every time she's around, like, you're just like, oh yeah, no, she's an amazing character. We need to know more. What's going on? What's she doing? And stuff like that. So I think she is probably my favorite character as a whole. Like, Lug is an awesome character. He's very cool, just all of his abilities. And as I had mentioned earlier, just how he is using his previous life to help guide him forward in this life is really cool, because a lot of times in these isekai animes where they have their previous knowledge, like, all they really do with it is be like, well, I can't make the same mistakes again.
Right.
And in this one, he's like, no, I was an assassin. I'm going to use every skill I had in the 40 years of my previous life to make me the world's greatest assassin.
Yep. Yeah, and that very much shined through when he was like, 12 years old, when he bested his dad, who was considered to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it really leads him forward.
And then the Rod of God, I think is what they call it.
Something like that, yeah.
Talking about that, the canon, so just all of this stuff that he's making use of with his knowledge that he has now, and him figuring out that, oh yeah, magic, especially when you're making magic when it comes to metals, it's literally just, here is the weight, the melting points, and I don't remember what the third one is, but
I remember atomic number being in there, but that's essentially the weight.
Yeah, maybe the periodic table, the number on the periodic table, maybe, I don't know, I don't remember what the third one was, but it's like he was able to find and figure that out instantly, essentially.
Right, because of his past knowledge of the human art world.
Yeah. He does talk about how it's probably because he has the mana writing ability. That's the reason why, like, he essentially doesn't get brain dumped into not thinking about these things. Like, he has the ability to think outside the box, essentially, when it comes to creating new spells.
Like his brain, or his
that ability,
something weaver.
Yeah, the spell weaver, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
So he may, at least in the manga, he makes mention, he's like, oh, this is probably an added effect to the spell weaver where I can think about this stuff this way because I have the ability to write new spells. So that's why I can be like, oh yeah, it's probably this, and then actually act on it.
Right. Yeah, which is why Idea can also benefit off of it.
Yep, because it makes sense. And yeah, it was really cool, that interaction between, so that first time they really met and started doing magic, I thought that was really cool. Did you have a favorite scene, since I talked about mine?
Nothing was super amazing.
Okay.
Favorite scenes, I guess I'll go my shonen route, somewhere between kind of fighting the dad. The anime was kind of a little lackluster. It was interesting. I liked the swiftness of it.
Yep.
The Heaven's Rod or whatever it was with the fighting Magnus, that was interesting.
Yep.
But I guess I'll go back to what I said earlier, just him putting on those like metal gauntlets and fighting those wolves to save Tart.
Okay.
Maybe that could be a favorite scene strictly because it added character like accessories that was just cool and
Yep.
like ninja-esque, so that was cool.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so I think I'll just default back to that one.
Okay. No, I don't fault you on that one. That was a really good one. And just the interaction that they had. And let's see, Luke was 11 at the time, something like that.
Earlier than that.
7?
It was when he met Tart, and we were discussing that. That was 10 or sooner. Like somewhere between 7 and 10 probably.
Yep. That's kind of one thing I like about this show is that there's not like one, oh my god, this is the best scene, but as a whole, I feel like this series was very good quality from start to finish.
Yeah, everything was really well. The only thing that kept coming back to me was everything was like quote unquote as a matter of fact. Like
Okay.
in terms of like OP,
Yep.
like he was right on the money like all the time, and he knew how to handle every single situation. I don't think Luke struggled much at all. Like everything was always planned out and worked out.
Yes, but I took that as it's this essentially the side effect of him being who he was.
Right. I mean, yeah, he's like a 7-year-old man plus this magic world, so he's very knowledgeable.
And he's using his rapid growth / regeneration to its absolute fullest extent. I understand what you're talking about, where it's just like, yes, he had struggles, but he had no real issues.
Right.
And hopefully season 2, we get kind of some ups and downs. So I guess since I've recommended this and I talked about it previously, where it was probably one of my favorites of the most recent isekais that I've watched, did you enjoy it as a whole?
Overall, I was very pleased with this. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the matter of fact idea was kind of just there, but it didn't like fault any of my thinking.
Okay.
This was still fun to watch from start to finish. I wanted to see how things were going to continue to play out.
Yeah.
I wanted to see him learn to get stronger. I knew we have this time scale of less than 18 years to minimally kill the hero.
Yep.
And I wanted to see more.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see more magic. We didn't get to see much, but we got a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Mostly like fire and earth when it came to weapons.
Yep.
We got a little bit of water when he was surfing to go practice on the island. And we got a little bit of wind when he was picking up whispers and talks so that he can overhear the battlefield. Like those are the only 2 instances of earth
Well, I definitely had to use wind in order to kill that noble from like 8 miles away.
Oh, yeah, sure. There could have been some wind magic in there too.
Yeah, because I don't know. I am absolutely not an expert in long range shooting, but I can tell you it's not easy.
Yeah.
So he had to have used magic to be just that perfect of a shot.
Yeah, because like there was like 3 little circle things that came up too for extra focus.
Yeah.
So they didn't explain it as anime logic at that point, and it's understandable. But I just want to see a little bit more water and wind magic if he chose all 4 attributes.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, because I think he uses wind and fire to make those explosions when he's killing all the people against Dia's, like the people that are trying to take over Dia's town.
Yeah, because he was talking about, he added 3 different elements into that thing, and he talked about them in percentiles too. It was like 50% fire, 20% earth for the scatter shot effect, and
30% wind, so that it like essentially tornadoed.
Yeah, so to add the impact and the pressure.
Yep.
Something along those lines. Now that, after you said that, my initial memory was he just used those stones that he applied magic to.
Yep.
And then he just applied a little extra and turned those into bombs, but then I remember the percentile deal.
Yeah, he like manipulated the mana within it so that it would work in the manner in which he wanted them to.
Oh, actually, yeah, he was probably using those stones to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
And he just applied extra. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because, again, I know in the manga, he talks about he got the foul stones because essentially what he was doing is he would release all of his mana and nothing would happen to it when he was like a kid and trying to grow his mana. So then what he started doing is he would start releasing all of his mana into the foul stones, so then eventually he, could do something with them instead of it just going into space.
Right. Yeah, he's just hoarding a bunch of grenades in his closet.
They're safe. It's okay.
Right, until more energy is applied. But yeah,
I feel like also if you like threw it at something, it would probably explode too.
right, enough of an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, I thought for sure he was going to make those into bullets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like that's what I thought he was going to do.
like actual little grenade launchers instead of a.
Basically.
Yeah.
Granted, it'd be a terrible assassination weapon, but you could like slingshot them and just start making a bunch of these explosions. That'd probably be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, even the father of Dia Vicone was like, after he saw that cannon,
Yep.
he's like, if this is an assassination technique, I don't understand assassination anymore. It's just a giant weapon of war.
Yes. And it's like, well, that might be an assassination attempt, but I'm trying to destroy everything in that area right now.
Fuck that area in particular.
Yes, from way over here. So I am glad you enjoyed this isekai and the anime because it's a little different, if I had to say so,
Yeah.
like as a whole.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway right away was he's not the hero. He's the hero killer, but at the same time, he's our hero.
Yes.
So I thought that was a nice twist, because he's not the bad guy. He's the secret good guy doing bad things.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting, like, what the route in the future is, because yes, he's an assassin, but he's also a medic, and his whole goal is to stop the hero from his tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many avenues, as we've talked about, that this really has a very interesting path it can take.
Oh yeah, especially because in I think it was the very first or second episode, the hero doesn't have to die necessarily.
Yes.
He can just have some kind of change of heart, and if that can be successful, then that's all that needs to be done. So that makes me think that the hero is not going to die.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be very, very interesting. I am looking forward to season 2, that's for sure.
100%. So with some kind of grade scale, what would you give this out of a 10?
I would probably like a 6.5, 7.
Yeah, that's
like it was good. I can definitely rewatch it. I can't continuously rewatch it, but it's one of those where it's like, if I know you like isekais, or let me rephrase it, if I know you don't dislike isekais, then I 100% worth recommending, and it's a good easy watch.
Yep. Yeah, it was very easy to watch. One, I agree on your scale, 6.5 to a 7. Some of the things that bring me down is the sex trafficking didn't necessarily need to be in there. They could have made something different. I just don't like the idea of children.
Yep. No.
If you're gonna do sex trafficking, let's keep it adult.
Yep. Understandable.
And that bath scene with with Dia. Just again, we're talking children here. Let's.
Yeah.
You're losing points left and right just because of that.
Yeah, understandable. Like, you could have done almost everything and then not had that, and it would have been just fine.
Yeah.
So
100% agreed. Especially in the manga, like you were saying, because the bath scene didn't happen, so that's a savior right there.
Like, the whole thing doesn't happen.
Yeah,
like, the whole date doesn't happen.
The date would have been just fine. That would have liked to. I think I would have been a little saddened that was kind of skipped out on. Of course, it's all fluff. Yeah. It has nothing to do to the actual story, but.
Absolutely correct. Because he goes and sees her one day and then has to run back and see her the next day, essentially.
Yeah, you're right. That's a lot, yeah. We should get a time frame on how soon he can recover his mana. Like, if he were to go to Dia's and get there as fast as possible, burn himself out.
Yep.
Are we talking like 24 hours he's back to new, or?
So, in the chapters in which I read, he makes mention how after the fight with Magnus, they make mention how the next morning he's fine.
Oh, just like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially sleep. That's what he needs.
Just sleep, yeah.
So 8 to 10 hours probably is, or let me rephrase it, 8 to 12 hours is probably what he needs to fully recover from. We'll go with absolute 0. Like, he probably had 1 MP, like 50 HP left over.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's obviously very rapid. I'm also interested in the fact that is that time frame the same? So kind of like, is it going to be one of those things where in like SAO, where Kirito, like his recovery and HP is so high that eventually like very low level people will attack him and he's already regenerated?
Regenerating as fast as he's getting attacked.
Yeah. So is it one of those things? Or is it like he's still a normal person no matter how high he gets, but he can just go from 0 to 1,000 at the same rate he was going 0 to 100?
Right.
Say he's 20, is his rapid recovery still from 1 in 50 least till an 8-hour period, or because his mana is so great that now it takes 24 hours.
Sure, yeah. It could be either way.
Yeah.
It's either faster recovery or an extended life bar at mana bar.
Yeah, which we know he is getting that. So it's interesting. I'm going to go with his recovery speed increases as his max level increases.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just how every RPG game has always been.
Right. Different ways to supplement each other.
Yeah. So I am glad you enjoyed this. And I completely understand the gripes with the certain events that happen. It kind of does help. Like, it makes Maha a better character, but I feel like there could have been different ways. Like, you could have done abuse instead of the soliciting of 14-year-olds. So
yeah, definitely.
But beyond that, I think the series as a whole is very good, and I can't wait for more, because if it stays on this path, it's definitely, like, as far as isekais are concerned, it's like top 10 to 15 kind of isekais.
I think that's fair enough, yeah.
Like, it's definitely not the best ones, but it's worthy of being one of the better ones for sure.
Yeah, especially of things that we've watched, and this was definitely good.
Yep.
I'm excited to see this hero. The anime didn't give us, I'm gonna assume it's a her, because we saw it and it looked very feminine.
Okay.
So, but this character sheet is saying, I think it's Epona Rhiannon.
Okay.
So we'll see however that's gonna play out. I don't know. I've never heard of Epona, so I don't know what kind of name that is. But like I said, I assume it's a female, and it's kind of a nice twist to have a female hero, because that's not that common.
Okay. Yeah. No, I do completely understand what you're saying. I would agree. It's probably a female hero.
It's anime, so you never quite know until you.
Yeah, because we even get brought up earlier when Dia first meets Lug, and it was like, oh, I thought it was a boy that I was going to be training.
Yeah.
It's like, I am a boy.
Mom is just crazy.
Yeah.
She wants to sniff my wet dreams.
Yeah, that was weird. The mom was so weird.
That was very weird.
Yeah,
She's a cute character, but damn, she's fucking weird. Didn't appreciate all those weird things.
So I did find it funny so you've got Maha and Tart, they slept with Lug.
Uh-huh.
And then he had a wet dream, and they're like, oh, well, if you need help with that, we can help you. Like, I did find that part funny.
That was funny. I was like, oh god, here we go. But it was at the same time funny.
Yes. And I like the fact that he's trying to be respectful of these individuals, even though he's brainwashing them into being subservient to him.
Right. Yeah. So if he's already going that far, he can just continue that path and make them think that it's for the greater good instead of going to brothels.
I mean, he does make mention that it's like it can ruin basically everything that he's done. So that's why he's not doing it, because he doesn't want to. Because if something happens now, all that work that he did beforehand to essentially manipulate them and brainwash them was for nothing, because he essentially just ruined the relationship, ruined it by sleeping with them and instead of going to brothels to release his urges.
Yeah.
So it's
understandable.
Yes. It'll be interesting to find out if essentially he just gets married to all of them or gets multiple mistresses.
Right. Yeah, if he takes that route, or if he stays faithful to Dia and marries her or something. Yeah.
I think because of the nobility and them basically talking about having multiple mistresses, I think it's just going to be one of those things where it's like, nope, yep, he's eventually just going to sleep with them. And because it's not that he's going to give in, he's going to listen to Dia, and she's be like, no, it's what you should be doing. And he's be like, all right, I guess I've been putting it off for like 10 years. I guess I can do this now.
I guess I can go get it.
Yeah. So I'm curious. That's obviously all very much future, very far into the future things. Yeah. Is there anything else you kind of want to talk about for as the world's finest assassin?
No, I think I'm pretty good. What about you?
I think I'm good. All in all, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad we were able to finally talk about it.
Before we close up, you want to give one little teaser that we can expect out of next season that you read ahead and found?
Yes. So something that I found out was during the chapter in which I was reading about them basically hiding Dia with them. I admit I forgot that the part in which the Tuatha family essentially takes in Dia, I, for whatever reason, was thinking that didn't happen. The father says that the reason why they make Dia 14 is so that Dia and Lug can go to this prestigious magic school. And so I think that's what's going to happen in season 2. And I think that's where they're going to meet the hero.
Okay. Yep. So kind of much like Jabba's reincarnation season 2 right now. It's going to be kind of like a school season. And,
Yes.
and everybody's going to be learning a little bit more.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it because there is certain situations that Dia wants to have happen, and so then it kind of all starts to make sense if that does happen as I think it's going to.
Right. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that also gives us much more action. But at the same time, I hope we can still play around with the assassin idea too, and it's not just going to be
I think they're going to.
big explosions.
I think they're going to.
I hope so. Because I'd like to see some assassin stuff.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to see more assassination as a real assassination, not the I'm going to destroy this town assassination.
Right. Just drop a bomb. That's not quite there, but yeah, let's get back to the roots here.
Yeah, definitely.
Alrighty, and with all that said, I think this is going to conclude today's episode of the Anime Lounge podcast. Thank you everybody for listening to us this far. If you have, please leave us a rating or a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on, because that would help us a lot. Also, please go find some more of our content on YouTube and follow us on Anime Lounge Short Flights, where we cover individual episodes of hot new anime that are currently out, and we have a lot of fun with that. Also, go find the Animes show on Facebook and Instagram. Stay up to date on everything anime related, because you can't get enough of that news, and there's always news. And we will catch you guys next time.